Do you require any graphic design work done? A North London agency full of Gooners, oh, and one lonely Watford fan, will be happy to help. Go to www.stonecreativedesign.com and mention Gooner Ramble for a 10% discount on your first project.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Gooner Ramble podcast. My name is Callum, I'm hosting today, and I'm joined by regular Mark.
Hello, sorry I got put off by the coughing there, thanks for that, Amanda.
Good to see you again, Mark, and that cough there, of course, was Princess Gooner herself. Amanda, how are you doing?
I thought I muted it.
No, you did. We're leaving that in, though.
I'm so sorry.
What's in all this podcast?
I lost my voice a little bit yesterday at the football. Good evening, hello.
Good evening. So yeah, we're coming today, day after the win against Stoke, 3-1 win, all pretty good. I haven't podcasted for a while, and I thought this is probably going to be the week where we lose, and I've got to, host a miserable pod. But actually, everything worked out pretty well in the end. So yeah, 3-1 win, goals from Walcott, Özil, and Iwobi. I nearly forgot there. All pretty good. So Amanda, were you at the game yesterday?
Yes.
How was it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm not one of these fans that goes in and thinks, oh, it's Stoke, it'll be easy. I don't ever think any game's ever going to be easy or we're going to walk it. I thought we actually played well. Sometimes we have shite first halves and we're useless and we're just not at the game. I actually thought we were okay, probably quite better than average. So when the penalty went in, it was early enough for us to be able to recover. At the ground, I did not think it was a penalty at all. It was right in front of me. I actually just thought we ran into him. But on reflection and the fact that my best mate's a ref and I always get it wrong, it is, and it was. And I just don't understand why the ref didn't book him or send him off then. That's what confused me slightly.
But we'll get into that a bit later. But what was the general feeling going into the game? So you said that you weren't thinking, oh, this is gonna be a walk. I mean, Stoke haven't beaten us at home since 1981. But Stoke are Stoke, so they've been in pretty good form recently. Were you confident in the 3 points? Looking at the team as well.
Do you know what's hard? I think we all sort of, if you err on the side of caution, you all sort of go, we just know what Arsenal are like. If we turn it on, we can beat anyone, but we can have a day where we just don't. I mean, if you look at November, which we probably shouldn't, we couldn't beat anyone in the Premier League. We didn't lose, but we didn't beat anyone. And I just think that we're on the cusp of something great. It does feel a bit like that with the two best players, Sanchez and Özil. I wasn't negative. I didn't think we'd lose. I didn't have any of that. The guy I went with, actually, who I went to West Ham with the week before, was like, oh, man, it's 4-1. And I was like, can't really see it. But, as I said, the penalty came early enough for us to recover, and I did feel not negative. I wasn't like that. Generally, the consensus around me was a good buzz, yeah.
How did you feel, Mark? Were you at the game, and what did you make of the teams when they were announced with, of course, Perez coming out, the Ox and Walcott back in, Gabriel starting at right back again? How did you feel going into it?
Yeah. It's as you said, I think whenever we play Stoke at home, we never seem to have any trouble with them. They come and most of the time they look pretty sort of piss poor, and that it's only really away where we struggle, and I think that's just where it's a mentality thing. Where they up their game and their crowd ups their game, and we seem to struggle with it. But at home, no, I wasn't really too bothered. I mean, they've had a pretty poor season in general. I know they've had a little bit of a better turn in form. The team, I thought, generally picked itself, and thought it was a good side. Best one we could probably put out. It was interesting that Ramsey apparently has picked up some kind of injury. I've no idea what it is, just a little niggle or something, and wasn't available. So it was good to see Xhaka and Coquelin again.
I think I heard that his hair needed re-dyeing. That might be why.
Well,
and took the day off.
it wouldn't surprise me. He does. If he was a piece of chocolate, he'd eat himself.
You could say that, but what did you make of the changes, Amanda? Of course, a lot of people were calling for Perez to start after his hat-trick in the week, but he had been out for a few weeks, and he played 90 minutes away in the Basel game. Both Walcott and Oxlade-Chamberlain have been playing well. Alexis up front, I think, is first name on the team sheet at the moment. Were you pleased with the team, or did you want to see a bit more variation, or maybe Perez keep his place?
No, I was happy with the team, and I was actually talking to Mark about this yesterday, and I was quite happy with his substitutions at the time we made them, apart from the start fee, which was enforced, as they say. I couldn't fault Wenger yesterday. I am a big critic of his. When we lose, I blame him because he picks the team, and when we win, we have to give him praise because he picks the team. And I think that he made the right decision, and I thought that before the game, regardless of the result. I also feel that this Alexis and this Mesut partnership is just so perfect that I pray that they just play together every single match, if you know what I mean. I don't want to talk about injuries or anything. I just
don't
love
say that word.
What
don't say that word.
No,
let's not jinx it. Everyone's thinking it, but we can't jinx it.
Okay.
Okay, well, I guess we'll talk about the game itself then. We started off, I thought, pretty well, but we'll head straight into the penalty talk. Amanda, you said you thought it wasn't at first and maybe changed your mind. Mark, what was your opinion? I'm going to say, first of all, that at first I thought, again, when it first was called, I thought, what's that been given for? Then when I saw the replay, I thought, actually, that was anywhere else on the pitch that's been given. If a Stoke defender had done that to Alexis, we'd be saying, dirty old bastards, that's a free kick, that's a penalty every day of the week. And whilst I don't think Jack has gone in to hurt him, I think he's been a bit clumsy and he has caught Alan. So what was your take of it? Did you think it was the right decision?
I think you're spot on there, to be honest, Cal. Because it was on the other side to where I sit, couldn't really see it too well. So at first you're thinking, what's that about? You could see the players' reaction. They thought it was harsh, the crowd's reaction. It's only really when I've seen it since that I thought it's a foul anywhere else on the pitch. It's clumsy. I don't think he's deliberately gone to catch him with his arm, but his arm really doesn't need to be quite up that high, even though he is a bit of a hobbit, old Joe Allen. But I thought, it was a penalty, to be fair.
And Amanda, so what were you saying? You thought it was an incorrect decision at first, but then
I did, yeah.
Did you take some? Your friend needed to change your mind, did he?
And then a guy behind me had it on a replay at half time, and we watched it, and I was even convinced then it wasn't. But I just, we don't get to see it as many times as the pundits and anyone at home until we get back, And I just thought he ran into him. But the more I've seen it and the more my mates explained it, I thought, I can see. And it was only funny because the guy was sitting with us, I said, we were talking about Xhaka during the game before this. And he said, I love seeing him in the centre. I said, so do I. But he's got to be careful because, we want to keep him on the pitch. I love the fact that he's got that aggression. And then he did that, But again, you can't take that out of his game. You just got to learn to use that elsewhere, really, in a different form.
Yeah. The thing is with Xhaka, I don't think. People keep saying, he's got sent off 8 times in 2 years or whatever the statistic is, but I don't think he's been dirty. I remember on the first day against Liverpool when he came on and just got the most obvious yellow card you'll ever see. The sending off he got against Swansea, I think that was the same referee we had yesterday. I think that was just, I don't think he was trying to hurt the guy. I think he was just trying to make a professional foul. And it was mistimed. I don't think that was a red card. I don't think it was malicious either. And then again, the elbow, I don't think it was, I think he's just a big clumsy bastard, and Alan's about 5'9". So, when he swings his elbow around, he catches him. So I think, people are very quick to say it's because of his record. Oh, he needs to cut that out and stuff. And I do think it was a mistake on his part, but I don't think it was necessarily, there was any intent there to hurt the guy. I think he's just a bit, needs to keep his arms down by his sides, perhaps moving forward. But, so we go 1-0 down. This was in the, I think, 25th minute or something like that. So, a lot of time to go. Personally, and this is the first time I felt this about Arsenal for a while, I didn't really worry at this point. If it had gone into the second half and 60, 70 minutes and we were still 1-0 down, then I might have done. But I just had this kind of feeling that we'd be all right. And what did you think, Mark? When we went 1-0 down, did you think, here we go again? Or did you think, actually,
Well,
you know,
unfortunately, I mean,
we're
yeah,
going to be fine.
there's always a little bit of that. Here we go again when that happens to us, because we've become a little bit used to it over the years. But this team does seem more resilient than past years, and so I wasn't panicking too much. I mean, I think I was slightly concerned with our performance in the first half. I thought second half we bossed it, and they really only had the two-headed chances. But first half I thought it was a fairly even game. They had some decent chances. Even before they took the lead, they had a couple of chances, as did we. But I thought, no, we were playing well. I think obviously then when we lost, I don't know whether it was, I think it was slightly before the penalty that we lost Mustafi. I think when that happened, you're like, oh, okay, Gabriel's now got to go back in the middle, but he should be okay because he's match fit and he should be fine, and Bellerin should be okay. So I think, no, I was fairly confident that there was plenty of time to come back into the game, and it had looked a very open game, to be fair.
Yeah, no, I agree. It definitely wasn't. I mean, Stoke's goal wasn't necessarily against the run of play, but I guess it was a leading game at that point, and I don't know. We were still kind of growing into the game, although we did start the stronger team, I think. But, we didn't really create an awful lot, I have to say, after the goal. It was interesting. It was, again, I felt this kind of confidence that we'd be all right, but at the same time, it wasn't like we were peppering their goals with their goal with shots and thought it'd be a matter of time.
Yeah.
But of course, Mustafi did go off injured. Bellerin came on. Great to have him back. And Amanda, I mean, what did you make of the goal? Alexis picks Bellerin out on the right, perfect cross, and Walcott, to be fair to him, he's got his coffee machine now. He's got the 10th goal. Great finish at the front post, wasn't it?
Do you know what? It was really interesting because my dad, who is like doom and gloom, said about 10 minutes to go, all goals down here in the second half. I looked at him and went, hold on, there's still 10 minutes here. It don't take a second to score a goal. I always sort of keep the faith and quite positive as well in that respect. So when Mustafi went down, and we're all thinking Gabriel, but we're thinking, oh, Bellerin, let's hope he's fit, because a fit Bellerin is fantastic, defensively and offensively. So when he came on and we saw him run, we thought he's fit. He's back to, it looked like he'd never been away. So when Alexis picked out Bellerin and he came down and, oh my God, it was just such a beautiful pass to Walcott. And the minute it went in, what was it like? I don't know, 40 minutes, 42 minutes, whatever it was, just before half time. The confidence was there, wasn't it, to think, look, I've always loved scoring a couple of minutes before half time anyway, regardless of the score. I always think it gives the team that scores the boost for the second half. And it was lovely. Beautiful goal. Honestly, the football, I thought we did. I thought they created a couple of chances actually first half, but as I said, I don't think our football was that bad.
No, I think you're right. It was we played well. It just wasn't. We weren't creating as many chances as we'd like, but that's understandable, I guess. When Stoke have the lead, they're going to sit back and defend. But I mean, what did you make of Walcott's finish, Mark? I mean, it's not an easy. On your front foot, the ball's been drilled across for you to hit it and get it between the goalkeeper and the near post. I think it was a better finish than some perhaps gave it credit for. And so, what did you make of him, his finish and his all-round performance?
Just like to slightly go back in the move to the ball that Ox played out to Bellerin first. It was a great ball from Ox to spread the play over to the right-hand side, and then it went into Xhaka, to Alexis, to Bellerin, and then great ball in. And, I mean, that's what you want with Walcott. With his pace, he should play on the last man and use his pace just to get away from him and get to the front post and do that. I mean, that's a goal that we've seen Giroud score a lot of, mainly due to his strength and his thinking, because he hasn't got the pace of Walcott. But no, it was a good goal by Walcott. Took it really well. I thought he worked hard yesterday. He helped out with his defensive duties as well, which I think is one of the big pluses for him this season. We've seen that. I mean, last season I know what was going on with Theo. He looks a completely different player this season to last, which is. It's hard to understand why. I don't know what was going on, but this season he's really put a lot more effort in, and it's paying off. And I think maybe Theo understands now that he needs to put that effort in every game to be the top class player that he can be, and to contribute to the all-round team display, and not just with what he's doing up front. Because Bellerin is a very attack-minded fullback, so he does need that support sometime, and if you don't give him that support, then sometimes we can get caught out on the right hand side. So really good to see Theo working hard, and yeah, great finish.
I think the thing that pleases me about Walcott is that, he had that burst kind of at the beginning of the season where he was scoring every week. He was looking really fantastic. I think he has dropped off a little bit, but last season it seemed he would have he had a handful of games where he was fantastic, and then for the rest of the season he was just dire. He was like an extra body on the pitch that wasn't doing anything. And recently I've noticed a lot of games like yesterday where he's popped up with a goal. He's not had a hugely influential performance, but he's been solid. He's been tracking back. He's been involved in attacking moves. You always feel like he is going to get an opportunity to score. And I don't think he had that last season, that kind of consistency, which I think is really important. And, we even, like yesterday, I think Alexis didn't have a particularly fantastic game, but he still, came up with an assist and played pretty well. So what we need from Walcott, I think all of our players, is for them to have these outstanding games every now and again, but, to put in regular 7 out of 10 performances every week at least. Amanda, with Walcott, what have you thought of about in this season? Do you think that, why? I know if Woz was on the podcast right now, if I said to him, why is Walcott playing well this season, he would say because he's on the right wing rather than being used as an inverted winger on the left. Do you think it's just a simple case of, he'd be
just to say, if Woz was on the pod, his answer would somehow involve Ramsey. A bit like Jose's answer to everything involves Wenger, but that's a side point. Hiya, Woz, love you really, mate.
I think he's feeling a bit worse to wear today. Yeah, we got a few drunken tweets yesterday. Check out Woz the Gooner on Twitter if you want a good chuckle at a drunken man. He was enjoying himself yesterday. Fair play to him. It's Christmas coming up and we won a game. So, but with Walcott, Amanda, what's your general take on him?
We love Warren, but he is obsessed with Ramsey. It's so funny. And yes, we all got drunken tweets. I don't know. Can't answer it, to be honest. I think he's getting great service, obviously. I don't even know if having his wife being pregnant and having a baby's made him anything different. Who knows? All I know is that boy needs a lot of support from us as well, because he does get slaughtered. And you know what? There have been times, rightly so. He's not been in the match. He's not been around. He's not bothered. It's a shame he didn't make it up front, because I think we all wanted that. But where he is, quite happy, to be honest. I think that him and Alexis and Mesut, well, to me, it's like football porn. I can't. The speed and the awareness of all of them. I want to talk about Mesut's goal.
Okay, well, all right, we'll get on to that then. So, just equalisers for half time, settling down for the second half. You think, well, it's going to take a while for us to break down Stoke, and they're going to sit back. Could be a long one, this. But, talking about individual pieces of quality, and I guess what's pleased me so much about it was that the last week we've just seen Alexis. He tore West Ham apart on their own. He was fantastic against Basel in the week. But, Oxlade-Chamberlain, a guy who has been a bit hot and cold this season, but when he's been hot, he's been very hot. And that ball we played to Özil was just exquisite. That's the kind of ball we've been seeing from Sanchez all season. And it's absolutely fantastic to see Chamberlain, whose end product isn't always great, deliver such a fantastic ball. He's been scoring some good goals this season. Özil sees the keeper off his line and he heads it over. What was that like in the stadium, Amanda? Was that kind of a collective gasp amongst the fans? It looked like an absolutely fantastic goal to witness.
Wow.
You enjoyed it, did you?
Again, I think it's equivalent to in front of Mark as it's in front of me. When that ball came in from the Ox and he headed it in, I'm not on your podcast often, but everyone knows that I've loved Özil from day one. And yes, of course, I can see the games that he's not played well in, but I can see the games everyone's not played well in, not only him. I'm a little bit like Woz is with Ramsey, I am with Özil. It was exquisite. And you know what's even more exquisite when you watch it on TV? The ball from Ox needs to be spoken about much more than anyone has, because that boy, the last couple of months has been terrible. And the last couple of matches, actually, I was at United.
I would dispute the terrible aspect. I think he's been. Do you know what? He's had a few odd games, but I think he's scored. I think his goals and assists now. He scored 6, assisted 6.
Okay, I don't think he's been great. Sorry, Callum, I really don't. Until he wasn't great before the game before United. And I can't work out which one it is. which game that
He
is.
did. He did have a terrible game. I think what's
Yeah.
happened is I think genuinely his performance has been great. Not great, sorry. I've improved a lot, but he has had the odd stinker. And I think even if you look at the West Ham game last week, he had one chance where he cut in on the left and he went to shoot and he ended up shanking it off for a throw-in. But then in the second half, he cuts in and scores that brilliant goal to make it 4-1. So even in the space of one game, we're seeing absolutely atrocious finishing and then an absolute wonderful finish, And then I think it's unfair. I think with what he's doing now is I think his goals and assist tally now is probably higher than it's ever been in any season. And some of those goals have come in the League Cup, in the Europe, perhaps in games against lesser teams. But I do think that he's been given a run of the team. Iwobi, I think, became a little bit stale, was taken out, and the Ox, I think, if he could play in his best position, it would be on the right. As we saw against Man United, he can beat a man, he can hit a ball in. But on the left, he's not that comfortable on his left foot. So, but I mean, that ball anyway, we can that over the top, perfectly weighted. He saw it was right. I mean, that's not something he was doing prior to this year, I don't think.
He had that bad game before United, and they brought him on at United, and he put the cross in for Giroud's head. It was Giroud, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I lose track of all these games. For
goals.
me, he looked at us because I was on that bend bit, and he was going mad because I think he knew that it was like, I think that was the beginning of him improving, to be honest. I think he so needed that. And from then, I can't fault him, and I want him to have that run in the team, definitely. And that assist to Özil, honestly, beautiful.
It was Özil-esque, wasn't it?
It was
another
like
thing we expect. Exactly.
It was
So,
like Özil to Özil. It's just brilliant.
What do you think of the goal, Mark?
I tell you what, but I think about the goal. The thing is, Özil makes that goal because it's one. I'm always a big believer in and when I used to play, I always used to and coach. I always used to say to people, make the runs. If you make the runs, the ball will come. Don't wait for the ball to make the run. Make the runs. You can see Özil. He sees Ox has got time on the ball, and he can see the spacing behind the defence, and he makes his run and he points where he wants it. So that ball is all about Özil making the run and letting Ox know where he wants it. Now the funny thing is, I don't think Ox puts it quite where Özil wants it. Özil wanted it a little bit more towards the centre of the goal, but Özil does really, really well because he kind of adjusts his run, and then he knows that the keeper is probably going to be coming, and there's only one way to score it. And for him to just dink the ball over, up high and over the keeper and into the net was a brilliant headed goal from a guy that you don't really associate with headed goals. Now, I'll hold my hands up. I've been critical of Özil somewhat, and at one point in the first half yesterday, I did shout out something about Mesut not perhaps moving as quickly as he should, because I thought first half he did look a little bit like one of those performances that sometimes he puts in, but second half it completely different. Typified by that run. There was a break later on in the game where he absolutely steamed up the pitch on the counter, and that's what that's what I think. That's why I think certain people get frustrated with Özil, because we all know what a great player he is. Technically, you cannot fault the guy. It's just literally, yes, some of it is down to his body language. Some of it is down to the way that he can often be knocked off the ball and he'll be looking for a free kick when really he's just been a bit weak in the challenge. And it's when you come to the Premier League, you have to stand up and fight for the right to play. And we've seen a lot of players have to learn that over the years. Dennis did, Thierry did, a lot of players have had to learn that. And I just sort of think sometimes that's what I just want to see from Özil a little bit more. It's that understanding that, my God-given talent is not just is not enough on its own to carry me through the Premier League. What it will take as well is a little bit more application than maybe I needed to do in La Liga, and a little bit more bottle, shall we say, than sometimes he's maybe thinks he needs to show because of the type of player he is. Don't get me wrong. I love the guy. I'm sure we will come down to the discussion between Özil and Sanchez a little bit later, but I do love him. But yeah, great ball by the Ox, but made by the run. Really was. Maybe you watch it and you see Ozil spot the run, spot the space, see that even Ox has got space so he can hit that ball, and he tells him where he wants it, and he just about gets it where he wants it. And great finish, superb finish.
Do you think? I mean, a lot of people this season have commented on Özil and said he's playing more like a second striker than as a classic number 10. Because I mean, I remember against Watford early in the season, he made that run where Alexis found him and he heads it in. I mean, his two-headed goals in a few months is pretty rare for a guy like Özil. Do you think it's, he's made a brilliant effort to be like that, or do you think it's just kind of happening naturally because he's been with us for a few years now? He's getting used to it. I mean, just to give some context, I mean, he scored in his first season, he scored 7 goals in 40 games, and he scored 5 in the year after, 8 last season, and already this season he has 9 in 20 games. I mean,
I think it's probably the system that lends itself more to it, with the fact that it's Alexis up front and not Giroud. I think that allows Özil to probably play more like a second striker than he would with
come
Giroud.
through the middle.
Yeah. So I think it's the system that we're playing at the moment, mainly with Alexis up top, that's giving him the opportunity to do that. And also maybe he's just upped his game.
Yeah, no, I think it's probably a combination of things, isn't it? And I think the thing with Giroud is that when he plays up top, he's not going to drift. And there's good and bad things about that, because there's some games where, I mean, even yesterday, I remember there was a point where Alexis picked the ball up from deep, hit the ball out wide, and I forgot who it was on the ball, but they thought, right, we'll get a cross in now, and there was literally no one in the box. So in those cases, you're like, oh, that's when we want Alexis or Giroud, whoever's up front, to be there. But then, yeah, that space that Özil ran into for Oxlade-Chamberlain's goal probably wouldn't have been there if Giroud had been playing. So, I guess it's down to the manager now to get a good balance between when to employ Giroud, when to use Alexis, when to play Perez maybe. But it's fantastic to see Özil contributing. He's getting a few assists, not as many as last year, but the fact that he's scoring so often, I think, is a good trade-off for the lack of assists compared to last year. But anyway, so we go 2-1 up, that fantastic header, and then I don't know about you guys, but when I saw Peter Crouch suddenly come on, I mean, I didn't even see that he was on the bench. My heart sank a little bit, especially because it was just before a corner. Now, after what happened with Andy Carroll last season and again last week, it just felt like, oh shit, here we go. Peter Crouch, who, by all means hasn't really been a footballer for a couple. I mean, he's barely played for Stoke. But they dust him, dust off the cobwebs and go, right, we're playing you against Arsenal because they won't like it up them. And when that ball came over to him from the corner, I mean, what were your thoughts at that moment, Amanda? Did you think, here we go, 37-year-old Peter Crouch, however old he is, he's going to get them back in the game? And he very nearly did, didn't he?
No, my dad did. As soon as he came on, my dad went, here we go.
So enough times, isn't it?
Yeah, Andy Carroll's more for me than Peter Crouch. He has to come on a corner, didn't he? No. They didn't worry me second half, funny enough. I thought it would be very much...
header worried me enough when Czech got down and saved it on the line. That was...
Yeah, but wasn't there another one that they missed an open goal as well?
There was Juve had a particularly bad header that went miles wide. There was a period, I think...
That was terrible.
Yeah. There was a period where if they'd been more clinical, they would have absolutely got a goal back in. It was after the goal, I mean, I think by and large we were in control, but they always had that threat because inevitably, with any team, it's not just us. I don't think we're particularly defend worse than most other teams in the league. But there is a worry at 2-1 that we've always got that mistake in us. But I mean, thankfully, Czech didn't really have an awful lot to do, but that save from Crouch certainly was closer than I thought I'd like to have been. I mean, would you mark 2-1? Did you think this is done now, or were you kind of worried that they would get back into it, especially with Mustafi off the pitch?
No, not really. I obviously, as soon as they're bringing Crouch on, and you look at how much taller than all our defenders, I mean, our centre halves aren't particularly big. They're all around the 6 foot mark and not much bigger. So they bring on 6'7" Croucher. You know that they're going to be looking for him as often as they can, and with that, the ball in from the corner, he beat both Cos and Gabriel to get that header in. And the interesting thing for me again was no man on the post there. So it was a good job it wasn't more in the corner for Czech to make the save. But no, I didn't think so. I was more worried about us giving Dürr a free header, which he completely messed up. But other than that, I thought no, we can get more goals here. now that they've got to try and play a little bit out rather than what they were doing first half. And yeah, lo and behold, we did.
And of course, with Crouch coming on, he was up against Gabriel and Koscielny at the back because Mustafi had gone off with that hamstring injury. It looks like he's going to be out for at least 3 weeks, so probably not until the start of the new year. Just going to a question we have on Twitter here from Robert Kaito. He says, Gabriel was decent at centre-back against Stoke, but who would you start against Everton alongside Koscielny? Would you go with Gabriel, or would you think about bringing in Rob Holding, who, of course, had a pretty great performance against Basel? Amanda, do you think it's a pretty no-brainer if Gabriel comes in?
Depends who he's... I did think about this before, actually, and I thought to myself, is he going to play the same back four against Everton, City and so forth? Because that's what I think would be conducive to the next couple of matches. I think he'll stick with Gabriel. I think the team that we looked at yesterday, apart from Mustafi, sorry, I'm thinking in my head. I think it will be Gabriel, and the rest of the same team. I don't see why he would change it unless there's someone's got a slight knock. I mean, I was absolutely thrilled that he took off Sanchez and just even for 10 minutes, So
he wasn't happy, was he, either, Alexis?
No,
he's never happy when he's not playing.
That's what Finger's paid for. You know what? It's like having a kid that you have to control. He has done that for his own good, not to be anything else. He has done that for his own good and for Arsenal's good and for our good. We have a match on Tuesday at Everton. We normally do okay there, but we don't normally do okay against their manager. So this is a bit of a strange one Tuesday night. My focus is on two tough away games in 6 days or 5 days.
Well, we're also terrified. I mean, we've seen with Mustafi. I mean, I don't think Mustafi's been overplayed, but these injuries do happen at this time of year, especially with guys who played regularly. And I mean, Alexis puts in 100% every week, but I mean, the Mustafi injury, I think, is pretty bad. I mean, he hasn't lost a game since he's joined the club. I mean, that's a testament, I think, to how well he's been. Mark, I mean, Mustafi, I mean, do you think that, what I would say is that Gabriel's come in and done very well, especially at right back against West Ham last week. I mean, obviously we'd want Mustafi available for these games, but do you have confidence in Gabriel, or would you be considering Holding as an option for these upcoming games?
No, I'd go with Gabriel. I mean, Holding's a great prospect. He did well in Basel, but this is going to be against Everton. The guys are going to have to look after Lukaku, who's in a little bit of form. No, I'd go with Gabriel, particularly now that Bellerin's back as well. So I think it's key that we look at that the back five sticking to the same ones that we finished the game with yesterday for the next 2 big away games.
Absolutely. So that was the decisions that were made in the game. Obviously, with Mustafi going injured, 2-1 up. Going back to the how the game ended, and Alexis, who didn't have the best game perhaps, but he wasn't bad by any means. Gets the assist for Iwobi we were stamped on by Charlie Adam. I know you said not to say his name earlier on, Mark, but unavoidable, I'm afraid. Iwobi, I mean, I think everyone can agree that when he came out of the team, it was probably a good idea. He wasn't playing particularly well at the time, but you could tell his goal against Basel meant a lot to him, getting on the score sheet this season, and to follow that up with a goal that really kind of sealed the win for us. It was a good finish, wasn't it? And what did you think, Mark, about Iwobi and what that goal means for him moving forward? Because I felt like he needed that more than anyone else, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think about the chance he had against Tottenham, was from a very similar position, but with the chance against Tottenham, he had a lot more time to think about it, and maybe he's at that age. He is only a kid, and so maybe when he's got more time, he overthinks it and panics a little bit, and therefore just hit a back pass into Lloris's midriff. Whereas yesterday, he's on the ball, hasn't got time, and he very very Henry-esque opened up his body and curled it way out of the keeper's reach and into the far corner. So it was a good goal. But I think it's right the way that for Iwobi. I think Iwobi is probably, it's right at the moment that Ox is the first choice and Iwobi comes on for him.
Oh, sorry, this is so hot.
And
You're right there, Amanda.
Is that not on mute?
No, you're not on mute.
And,
Sorry, my son is just going to bed and he wants to know where the computers are off the table.
We're leaving this in. This is behind the curtain. Sorry, Mark. What were you saying, Mark?
Absolutely no problem, Cal. Iwobi, I think it comes on for the Ox on that side, until and in certain games maybe you could look at Lucas, and then hopefully we'll have Welbeck back soon as well, and have a few more options for that left hand side. But no, he took the goal well. Obviously meant a lot. I think he did need it, and it's all part of his learning curve. The boy is learning. I don't particularly think that at his age and inexperience he should be playing for Arsenal. He should be out on loan, to be perfectly honest, learning his game and then coming back to the club, because he is a talent. But whilst he is here, I like the kid. He doesn't hide. He always wants the ball. I think he always looks to try and do things with the ball. So I hope we will still see some cameos from him this year.
No, I agree. And it's interesting you mentioned Welbeck as well. I mean that left side, with Walcott having come in and really made the right his own, with Iwobi, Ox, Perez, and then Welbeck to come back, we have got a lot of options on that side. So and of course if Giroud plays up front, then we also can play Alexis back on the left. So I guess there isn't an outstanding option for that side, but there's certainly a lot of depth, something we haven't really had before. So that pretty much sums up the game. I think we've kind of spoken about everything we could speak about there. In the end, pretty routine, impressive performance on the whole. Let's just take a minute to look elsewhere in the league, because this was a pretty good weekend for us. Tottenham lost at United. City got absolutely spanked by Leicester. No one really saw that coming. And Liverpool were held at home to West Ham today. Amanda, how are you? Oh, and unfortunately, Chelsea won 1-0 earlier. They've won 9 in a row, I think, since we beat them. How do you see this title race shaping up now, Amanda? We're 3 points off, 4 points off Chelsea, 3 points ahead of United, 4 points ahead of City. Could be worse, could be better, I suppose.
We're more than 3 points ahead of United.
Yes, we are. We're 10 points ahead of United.
Yeah, that confused me. It can all change. We're only 3 points ahead of, I think, Liverpool and City, aren't we?
4 ahead of City, yeah. 4 ahead of City, 3 ahead of Liverpool.
They win Wednesday night, Tuesday night, we lose Tuesday, and then we've got City next Sunday, which we'll talk about. But it's December, Callum. I don't really talk about it till about March, sorry, because I just know what we're like. It's just lovely. I watched Tottenham and West Ham today, and Liverpool have gone off the boil a little bit, which is good for us. Chelsea keep winning, which isn't good for us, and Tottenham, I don't even need to talk about them. So if we can keep this going, if we can keep injury free, it's looking good. But it's beginning of December. Yeah, long way.
We got through. Everyone said November was going to be the month, which traditionally is the month where everything falls apart. But we just about held on against Tottenham and United, and then we've come out with 3 wins afterwards. So we've got through that. The next couple of games will be a big test. Mark, how do you see it shaping up? Chelsea's form is pretty ominous right now, isn't it?
Yeah, they're they're on a roll. They're looking very solid. They're grinding out wins. I haven't seen any of the games over the weekend. I haven't bothered watching anything yet. I'll probably watch it all later. But 9 wins out of 9 is the kind of form that wins you the league. They've got, I think, 5 comparatively easy games coming up where they should be picking up quite a few points. Our next 2 games are very tough. I'm sure we'll speak about Everton, and going to City should be a tough game. But obviously at the moment they've got some real problems defensively, and obviously they've lost 2 decent players in Aguero and Fernandinho. So I think, strangely enough, Everton may be harder than City, because I think City will try and play, which might suit us more away, whereas Everton and Koeman are a different proposition. It makes. I tweeted yesterday about everybody digging out Guardiola and that, and Fraudiola and all that stuff, and I don't know what the stuff about him being bald is. It's like, oh, okay, he's bald. What does that matter? Yeah,
He pulls it off though.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Yeah,
and he just about manages it too. But so I don't know. I still think City will be a big shout for it. I think if Chelsea can carry on, they obviously will be. You look at the others, and I think we're probably the most consistent team of the others, because Tottenham have wobbled, United are not looking particularly great, Liverpool seem to just go from world beaters to shite from 1 week to the next. So I don't know. Very, very. I think again, very, very open title race. Probably more open than I was expecting. So I think as long as we can keep going, as long as we don't have any issues with injuries, we really can continue to mount a good challenge.
No, agreed. I mean, if you're a neutral, it'd be a great year to be following it, because at the moment it looks like there's 4 teams with a really good chance. And then I guess, I mean, United I probably wouldn't count out just yet. I mean, you never know with Mourinho. He seems to be on the wane, but it seems foolhardy to write him off completely. But I guess the next few weeks will be, time will tell. I mean, if Chelsea keep winning, it is a bit worrying with all these great fixtures they've got coming up. But anyway, we will sort of focus on Everton and then City, I guess, to see how we come out of that. Hopefully with at least 4 points, but you never know. You never know, do you? So I guess the next thing we have to talk about is the massive elephant in the room, which of course is the contract situation of one Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Özil. One of the questions we've got in here from Alex Banger on Twitter says, which is more vital, keeping Özil or keeping Sanchez? Now, obviously, we want to keep both, but Mark, I'll start with you. If you could only keep one of them, who would it be?
Look, Özil's very important to the way the team plays football, but I just think that Alexis drives the team on more. I think that mentally he gives the team a boost, just slightly more than Mesut does. So I think if I had to sacrifice one of them, it would be Mesut. I just think Alexis is a bit of a talisman at the moment. He's the kind of guy that will drive you to winning a title. Whereas I think, if you look at how Özil's role within the German national team when they win things and when they're successful, I think he's more part of the team. Whereas I think Alexis is more someone that will drive you to win a title. So I'd rather not lose Alexis.
Mm-hmm. I personally tend to agree. I think the term irreplaceable applies to both of them, because if we do lose either one of them, there is not a player that we could get in the positions they play that would be as good that would come to us. I just don't think that either exists. My only reason, with Alexis, I agree completely with what you're saying. And to back that up as well, I would say is that I feel like if Özil were to go, we could probably change the way we play football to accommodate the loss of a number 10, to maybe incorporate a kind of more solid midfield 3, and that's probably a formation that would suit someone like Ramsey a lot more. With Alexis, I think whatever formation we play, he's just going to be fit in wherever you play him. So, and of course that he is winning games for us on his own at the moment. Özil, I think, has probably been second or third best player this season, especially in an attacking sense.
Great point.
Yeah, I just think because that's what I've always. I mean, at the moment, I think the reason why Ramsey hasn't been good for some time is because he plays in a position which doesn't exist at Arsenal. But the same thing happened with Lucas Podolski. He's not a left winger. He's not a striker. There was nowhere we didn't have any other position where he could play. Alexis, I think you could put up front, you could put on the wing, you could play him defensive midfield, and he'd do a good job, And with Ramsey, I think, if we didn't have that number 10 and we said, right, we'll probably play a Coquelin or a Xhaka in defensive midfield, and had 2 midfielders that kind of play as part of a midfield 3 rather than 2 with a number 10 in front of them, he'd probably benefit from that. But of course, with Özil, you're always going to play him in his best position.
I think that's one of the 2 big issues we've got with renewing their contracts, is that they're both going to know, or rather their agents are both going to know, that to replace those 2 players with similar quality in a similar position, we'd have to go out and spend either an absolute shed load of money or take a punt on somebody becoming that player. either by changing position or by being a prospect that grows into that. So they both probably know that risk wise, it might be worth more for Arsenal to just actually stump up the money and pay them what they're asking for. If as the rumours are true, they're asking for what is
300,000 a week.
Yeah, which
something.
is it's obscene, but that's football.
There's no way. I mean, the sad thing is, there's no real way you can justify not paying them that, because, I mean, we don't pay him that. We'll sell them on the cheap. We'll lose out on millions if we sell them in the summer because they've only got a year on their contracts, or we lose them for free. And the cost it takes to bring players in to replace them, as you said, will be monumental. Amanda, I mean, you said yourself you're Özil's number one fan. Would you sell if you had to, and you have to choose one? Would you keep him ahead of Alexis?
Can't even discuss it.
You can't. No, go on. You got to discuss it.
Oh, it's so
Gun to your head.
tough.
Who are you going to pick?
It's so tough.
It is tough. Who are you going to pick?
If I had to sell one, it would be Sanchez. And I know it's really, and it's not because of my biasness, what maybe a little
Saying
bit.
those words in the same sentence, it doesn't feel good, does it?
No,
Sanchez.
I actually had the conversation walking into the ground with my other Gooner mate. I said, what would we do? Who would we choose? We both actually said Sanchez, but it was horrible. Felt disgusting saying it. I adore Sanchez. I have, as much love for that boy. I've never seen a player like that at Arsenal, ever. My dad said that, I can't remember his name.
He's almost a hybrid. I mean, people have been keen to give, the Alexis partnership, the kind of the Henry Bergkamp comparison. And Özil's been, well, that's the thing, but Özil's been compared to Bergkamp ever since he arrived, because not just because of the, when Bergkamp arrived, it was this big money, big high profile signing. And of course, Özil represented that, in 2013, but, they're playmakers. They've got incredible vision. I mean, but Alexis, I mean, I don't think you can compare them to Henry, really. I think, but then also he's got aspects of Bergkamp's game, but then also he is very much his own man. He's not the second coming of anyone. He's very much the first coming of Alexis. He's just such an incredible player with so many strings.
I think, Callum, why people are comparing it is because it's the most exciting partnership we've had since Bergkamp and Henry. I don't think
What about Gallas and Toure? Did that not get you going?
Sorry?
What about Gallas and Toure? Did that not get you going?
No, funny enough.
Denilson
I think that's the reason that people are more. I don't think there is comparisons. I wouldn't even compare them, to be honest. They're very different players in my eyes. The goal Iwobi scored yesterday was quite Henry-esque. I just feel that it's exciting for us and it's building. And the fact that we've got to discuss one, two, possibly both staying or going, one of them staying, whatever, is horrible. And this club of ours has to be taken to, I want to swear. I'm sick of this.
Do it, swear.
Fucking contract shit every few years. Whether it's true or not, we don't know what the club are doing. We don't know if this is agents, building it up so they get more in the contract. We don't know anything. If anyone's going to go, I think it could possibly be Sanchez. I think because he just doesn't stay at clubs long enough. But I just hope that he looks at players that have left, and it's not really worked for many. A couple it has, but not really.
Well, the thing is, a lot of our players do tend to go to Barcelona, and he's already been there.
Yeah, but I
just feel that
he should look at the bigger picture here. The bigger picture being that we were second last year. Okay, we're not doing great in the Champions League year after year after year. But if he can keep this partnership with Özil, we can keep Theo fit. Ox keeps improving. Xhaka, Koscielny's phenomenal. We love him. Bellerin, I just think the spine and the core is there. I wish someone would get hold of him the way someone should have got hold of Anelka and told him to stay with us. He would have been world class with us. He said he didn't feel loved by us because there was an online poll about him and Ian Wright. You know what?
No one's going to fare well against Ian Wright in an online poll, though, are they?
No, and it's not that.
Only one winner there.
I loved Anelka. I mean, I'm just saying, I want someone to point out to Sanchez that he must know he's loved by every single member of the Gooner crew. He must know that and feel it. And I want him to stay. I think we've got more chance of Özil staying.
I think the biggest thing we have with Özil and Alexis is that they are loved. They are idolised. They are given. I mean, Wenger plays Özil in the position he wants. He plays Alexis through the middle. He plays him every game. The crowd absolutely adore him. You know, they both come from clubs where they've not been the biggest players there. They've been discarded, perhaps too harsh a word, but they were, you know, when Real Madrid bought Bale, they sold Özil to make the money back. Same with Suarez at Barcelona with Alexis. And you know, they're living in London. They've got, you know, but then again, we are talking. I mean, despite what Alan Shearer says, Alexis Sanchez is one of the best players in the world. He is world class. Same with Özil. You know, if we do sell them, you know, Man City, Chelsea, they will pay them what they want. Arguably, they've got a bigger chance of the time. I mean, if Chelsea win the league this season, and they say, look, we'll give you $300,000 a week, come play for the champions. As much as Alexis, I think
Alexis
Chelsea,
going to Chelsea.
I wouldn't. As much as we hate to think about it,
very ridiculous.
But I don't see Alexis. Wait, hold on. I don't see Alexis as being this fiercely loyal player. I think he's very much. I think more than Özil. I think has won things. He's played at the top level, but I don't think he has that same kind of ruthless winning mentality that Alexis has. And I don't think Alexis. He is in the prime of his career. He knows that realistically, outside of probably Real Madrid or Barcelona, but actually probably Real Madrid would take him. Outside of Barcelona, maybe Real Madrid, any club in the world will take him. They will, and the thing is, there are clubs that will pay him whatever he wants. I guess and I think honestly, if he felt that he could have a better chance of winning a title, I mean, if we finish third or fourth this season, our title campaign falls apart in the spring. We don't get past the last 16 quarterfinals of the Champions League. I mean, even if we are a top 10 team in Europe, we're a top 2, 3 team in England. Alexis is when it comes to players in his position, you're talking about Messi and Suarez and, you know, a very, very select group of players that we need to take over him. And when you've got clubs like Chelsea or City who can pay him that, who maybe have got a better chance of winning titles than we do, Bayern Munich, Juventus, these teams that win leagues every year, compete in the Champions League every year. As much as we hate to admit it, I think we're in a position where we're on the cusp of perhaps getting to a point where we can be not at the level of the best clubs in the world, but like a level up from where we've been. But we're asking Alexis we need him to do that for us, and we need other players to do that for us. But whether or not he'll spend the next, he is in his prime right now.
He's not going to Chelsea, Callum. He won't go to a London club. He wouldn't do it.
Why not? Why not?
Because for him, I don't think it's about the money. He wouldn't do that, Sanchez. He'll go.
But he's not. You think he's that fiercely loyal to Arsenal that he wouldn't go? If Chelsea won the league this season, the champions of England, and they said we'll pay you £350,000 a week, which they probably would. Do you not think that he would? There's no way in the world that he would consider that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. No, absolutely not. If he goes,
more faith than I do. And I don't think he's a disloyal player. I just think for him, he's not.
There's a possibility he could go. I'm not disputing that, but he won't go to a London club. He just wouldn't do it. We're not that far off Chelsea, are we?
If they win the league, though, if they win the league this season, we are.
He's not going to Chelsea. I would put my mortgage on it. No way.
Mark, am I being unfair to Alexis here, or do you think it's possible?
No, I think it's possible. I think Alexis, you can see it in how he plays. Alexis is a winner. He wants to win every single challenge, let alone every single game. The guy is a winner. He will go wherever he feels he has the best chance of winning trophies. I'm not convinced that Özil has that mentality, but definitely I think Alexis is. With the thing about going to Chelsea, I think it could happen. I wouldn't rule that out. I think there are a couple of clubs that would definitely be interested in Alexis, and I think if he believed he would have more chance of winning trophies there, and the money was better, he would go because the man is a winner.
I think with Alexis, just sorry to butt in very quickly. Yeah. I think with him, it's kind of like with Özil, there's always been this case of like because he represents such a big thing for us, for Arsenal, the fans took him to heart so immediately. He's very much enjoyed, and especially having come from Madrid, where he was kind of discarded in a much more, I think, harsher set way than Alexis was at Barcelona, because there was talk of when he was, I think it was before he signed for us, he was subbed off in a game, and there was talk of we're never going to sell him. And then of course the Bale deal went through and he came, and I think for him he's needed the love from Arsenal fans more than Alexis has. I don't think Alexis came here with an ego that needed repairing. I think Özil very much needed that kind of, we love you here, we want you to be our man. Even if you're going to not play, and there's always been some dissenters, but most people have loved Özil and idolised him. And you can see from the way he celebrates, whether or not you buy if his social media is done by him or his media team, he's always the fact that he is an Arsenal player has always felt a lot more apparent than with Alexis, who has been he seems, when he scores a goal, he loves celebrating with the fans, he loves scoring, wearing the shirt, but he's not been a kind of player who kissed the badge, who seems fiercely loyal to Arsenal. I think he just says yeah, I'm playing well here. I like playing here. I like the manager. I like the fans. But I don't think he would hesitate to swap it in for a better option. And I don't think going to a rival club would. And I think if he left, people wouldn't even call him. I don't think they would even be like that. I think most people understand with him that it's not. He doesn't have this great love for Arsenal. I don't think that's. But but we're happy enough. It doesn't matter. You don't have to. Every player who plays for us doesn't need to, have worn Arsenal pajamas as a kid and dreamed of playing at Highbury.
Most of us should be used to it by now, to be fair. But I think as much as Amanda thinks it's unlikely, if he did go to Chelsea, I think the fans would generally take that pretty badly. If he moved to
they would. But yeah.
If he moved to any English club, but I think if he moved, maybe if he moved abroad, I think the fact that we'd let him go would be a sign that actually we're not as serious about joining the top ranks of European clubs as we've said we are, with Gazidis saying we'll take on Bayern Munich. I mean, never know. I mean, I think maybe Alexis and Özil can keep their partnership going, but maybe at Bayern Munich, I don't know. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I have heard, and I'm not being ITK, but I have heard whispers that the club are not overly confident about keeping Alexis.
Well, so is this to do with this? I mean, I guess the thing we don't know is when these negotiations are going on, is it just, both Özil and Alexis know in their heart of hearts whether they want to stay or not. But they're also obviously we want to get their bargaining position is so strong that they can afford to wait and say, this is what we don't know. We don't know whether or not they're just drawing it out because they want to leave, or whether or not they're drawing it out because they want to get the best deal possible, but have every intent.
And also you've got the situation with the manager, which will go either way. There are certain people that will say, well, they want to know whether or not Wenger is staying before they sign on for another season, rather than face the uncertainty of a different manager next year, because obviously Arsene Wenger is the only reason they signed for the club. Bollocks. And then you've got the other side of it, which is that they may be thinking, well, actually, hold on. If Arsene Wenger's going, I'm intrigued to know who the next manager will be, because actually the next manager might be the one that can galvanise. Yeah. In which case they'll both be off. That can galvanise this squad into actually being challengers for the top trophies in a realistic way. So I mean that could go either way depending on which side of the fence you sit. So difficult to say. There's a long way to go in any of this, and of course then you've got the whole added complication that our socialist pay structure manager doesn't believe that any player should be paid more than the manager. So obviously whatever pay rise we give to either of them has to be matched to him.
Is that something you really believe, Mark?
Yes, and in the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny, mate.
That's good to hear. This isn't a particularly fun conversation, I understand. And none of us really know. But Amanda, if you were a betting woman, how do you think this is all going to end up? In tears, or are we going to secure them, their contracts announced the day we win the title? How's it all going to end?
Tears, knowing our club. And the fact that Wenger feels that, as Mark said, that no one should be paid more than him. 50%. I do feel Sanchez is off, but not to Chelsea. I do feel he'd probably be gone by what I've been hearing. But again,
would Özil stay if Alexis went?
Yeah, I think he will. As I said, I agree with Mark. He's a different animal. I don't think Sanchez wants to go. To be honest, I think why would he? to be honest. He's playing the football of his life, and great the spirit and the things that come out the club, like clips that we watch of the team, they look like one big happy family. It's not forced. I don't think there's cliques. I think they're all.
Is that enough though? Is that enough for? I don't think that's enough with Alexis. I think we've made it like it's as good as it could be for him here in terms of, where he lives. He's got a massive garden with his 2 dogs. He is adored by the fans. The manager gives him autonomy.
They're getting their own banner.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't.
Yeah, they're getting their own. Yeah,
I
saw a great Photoshop earlier, which was, the thanks for the memories, but it's time to say goodbye. But it was thanks for the memories, it's time to say good boy, with a picture of Atom and Humber on the banner. So maybe we do have to give him a new dog every week. I don't know, but it's for me. I just feel like I think those things that you mentioned, Amanda, I think they're much more important for Özil. But with Alexis, I think he likes it here, but it doesn't matter if we don't win titles, if we don't win Champions League, we're not competing. I don't think he feels. I feel like he would. He's won titles with Chile now. He's been playing for Barcelona. I feel like him being the star man at Arsenal, not in a small pond, but in a smaller pond than, being the big fish in a small pond. Our pond isn't that small, but compared to Real Madrid and Barcelona, and I think he's a player who would much rather be playing with players where he is. At the moment, really, Özil's the only player on his level.
But Callum,
he goes to Bayern Munich, he goes to Juventus.
If he has to decide now, we're in the next round of the Champions League. We're second. We're in the FA Cup. If he decided now, where else would he want to go? If you're talking, he's got to decide next summer. When's his contract up? When is it?
2018. So he's 18 months. But the point isn't that like we could win things this season. We could get to the Champions League semi-finals or the final. Probably won't, but who knows? The point is, if you go to Bayern Munich, you are going to win the league every year. You are going to be in the top 4 teams in Europe every season. Same with Real Madrid, Juventus, and now at that point PSG. It's not quite the same with Chelsea and City because the Premier League is a lot more competitive. But let's face it, we're a club that at best we don't get into the quarterfinals of the Champions League. We're not a top 8 European team. There's no way you can make that claim with our European record. The fact we've not won the league since 2004. I think we are going places. I think we're the best equipped we are to end that run, and we have been for 12 years. But it doesn't for Alexis. As great as it would be, I think ideally he'd probably love to be at Arsenal and to win league titles with us. But unless there's this there is with Arsenal, it's very much like maybe this will be the year. But we've been saying that for years, and I do think we're closer than we ever have been since we've moved to the Emirates. But I just don't think it's enough. And maybe we will pay him. And then it also comes down to the fact we're probably not going to pay him £300,000 a week.
I agree. I agree with you, mate. I agree completely with you.
Yeah, but anyway, there's so many variables that go into it. None of us really know. I think
this will drag on, with the fact that the summer, this will definitely go on till at least the summer, in my opinion, because there's a break in the summer. There's no football, so I definitely think both of those guys will be thinking, no need to make a snap judgment. They've got the summer to think about it. So I can't see anything happening before then.
Now, if we win the treble, then they'll both sign, won't they?
Well, that's the ideal situation, isn't it?
that situation happens, I'm not coming home.
I'm going to come home if that happens. I'll get a flight back. Anyway, guys, we could talk about this till the cows come home. But looking forward, Everton on Tuesday night, City at the weekend. 2 tough away games, as we've said. Amanda, what changes would you make to the team, and how are you feeling about the Everton game?
Funny enough, I'm more worried about Everton away than City.
I don't know why you guys keep saying that. I'm pretty terrified of City, even if they've not been great recently. I feel like
if we don't beat City with their defence like that, we should be shot. We have to have Sanchez, Ozil, Walcott, Ox, everybody on their game. We could take them to pieces. Have you seen them recently? And a lot of my friends are City season ticket holders, and they're distraught. So they keep thinking we're going to rip them a new one, but I haven't said a word yet.
How often did we went to Old Trafford where we should have torn them a new one?
Yeah, but it was November, we were shy. No, listen, it's different. We've come out of that and we've had some good results behind us. And, we're playing with confidence. If I had to take 4 points this week, I would. I'd take 1 on Tuesday and 3 on Sunday.
I'd take 3, to be honest.
Sorry?
I'd probably take 3. I don't think a loss and a defeat would be the end of the world.
No, we don't want to be no defeats, Callum. No defeats.
Sorry.
A draw. We should really beat Everton. They're not great at the moment, but again, it's come Saturday, Tuesday, Sunday. I know everyone's got to do it, but we've got 2 away games up north. Tough. It is tough. But at the end of the day, it's sort of it's more like I look at it as the performance on Saturday. Can we continue that? We need to be a bit more sensible in the penalty area. And we need to take a few more chances. But apart from that, we're doing all right. Yeah.
We're doing all right. Mark, what do you think about the Everton game? Koeman hasn't got the worst record against Wenger.
No, he's got a decent record against it. He seems to be able to definitely nullify Wenger teams and to do well. I mean, what was it the 4-0 last year that I was at on Boxing Day? Was it Boxing Day last year? Jesus Christ,
they lost, I think, 6 games in a row.
Yeah, that was absolutely awful. So I think it will be a tough game, but we are talking Everton. They're not in a particularly great run of form. I mean, we've just seen them lose to Watford. So yes, we can win that game, but it's one of those stadiums where, for the big games, the crowd make a big difference. So it will be a tough match. City, I don't think that that side of it makes such a big difference, but they're a decent side, and despite evidence to the contrary on Twitter, Guardiola is no fool. So it will be a tough game, but defensively they can be got at. And, we are proving this season, certainly, that we can score a lot of goals. So I think, again, as long as we can be very, very tight in midfield, and I think that's definitely a game for Xhaka and Coquelin. And I think the back 5 will be the same as finished yesterday. We should be able to definitely come away from there with at least a point. I think 4 points minimum from these 2 games is required if we want to seriously challenge for the title.
Yeah, no, I'd probably agree with that. Very quickly, Amanda, predictions for the games?
No. I don't think.
Okay, Mark, predictions for the games?
2-1 win at Everton. And a
6-0 at City.
There you go, there's a prediction.
And a 2-1 win at City.
There we go.
Any win at City, any win.
Right, we'll leave it on that. 6-0 at City. That'll be the final word of the podcast. All right, guys.
That was a joke, everybody. That was a joke.
You won't be saying that if it actually happens.
I'll be there. And I'm sitting with the City lot, so it would be amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we'll leave it there, I think, just over an hour there. Thanks to both of you for coming on. Thanks, Amanda. Always good to speak with you.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely to chat Arsenal. I haven't done it for a long time.
Yeah, well, it was a good game to come in after. And Mark, as ever, pleasure speaking to you.
No worries. Thanks, Cal, for hosting. Great hosting as well. Giles, keeping Giles on his toes, and JJ as well, mate.
Thank you very much. I need to get some more
punch. They should have a
host off. No, I haven't got Giles' natural wit, but I get by. So anyway, thanks to everyone for tuning in. We'll be back probably midweek after the Everton game, and hopefully another 3 points. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and see you later.
Bye.
Do you require any graphic design work done? A North London agency full of Gooners. Oh, and one lonely Watford fan. We'll be happy to help. Go to www.stonecreativedesign.com and mention Gooner Ramble for a 10% discount on your first project.